Good evening, welcome to the Norwood Conservation Commission meeting for March 20th, 2019. If anybody has a recording device, please let us know. Open roll call.
Peter Bamber.
Jody Maria.
John Gear.
Cheryl Doyle.
Chris Capizio.
Steve Washburn.
Al Getz.
Okay, first on the agenda, notice of intent, United Consultants Incorporated representing DCD Realty, DEP file number 2510503, Norwood number 201814, project location 84 Moore Street, Norwood, Mass. You want to start us off, Al?
Last Thursday, came to my attention that there was a drainage issue with the employee parking spots on the plan. And knowing that cars that are not brand new sometimes leak, we didn't like the idea of any leaking oils or fluids going into a gravel stone parking area, especially since there's a catch basin equipped with oil water separated device nearby. So I communicated through our secretary with Jim Susie, and he changed the plan to put the employee cars on a paved parking spot, which drains directly into a cleaning device before the stormwater is discharged. And if you study the plan where the cars originally were, the cars that would be used slopes away from the building towards the river and therefore towards the rain garden and right into the river. So this is a desirable change and brings, and it's interesting that our peer review didn't pick that up, and we didn't pick that up a long time ago. I knew there was pavement there, but I looked at the plan and it didn't dawn on me that the pavement was going to be removed everywhere and just have the gravel stone surface. So this is, I think, a significant improvement over what we saw. That's why he received a separate section of plan this week. Jim Susie acted on that very quickly over the weekend, so that first thing Monday morning he was here waiting for me to show me that what he had changed. So that's the significant change over the plans that you had previously. And I think you should note that the peer review report, the last page, suggests that the applicant has met all the critical changes that were requested, and that as far as LEC and the peer review, they recommended that we should be able to close the hearing and vote for this project. That's all I need to say at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
a
something.
quick visual on what Al just said, to put it in perspective. We originally had the employee parking in this area here, which is as it drains towards the rain gardens and then ultimately through a helical separating in. But again, this is gravel, and there is a possibility of getting some sort of, not anything we want, into the ground. So what we did was right here where the existing loading dock is, that already slopes from here back to the building. There's an existing catch basin that we're gonna replace with a helical separator. So that's an oil water separator as well as TSS removal. And then we move the employee parking to here. That'll lose a few spaces in this area here to get around it. And then the area where the employee parking previously was is now storage parking. I think I met with Al Monday morning, we went over it. The only other comment that he had was on sheet 5, the gravel hatch was covering where the propane tanks are, and it wasn't really showing through. So just to clarify things, I eliminated the hatch over there so the propane tanks stand out. They are gonna remain, that will be the power for the building.
Okay. Cheryl, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, I just have one little one. Because you moved the employees parking back this way, and you have 6 loading docks, and it's an active building, how are you guys loading and unloading then?
I did have a conversation with Chris Monday morning after I met with Al, and since this is the employee parking area, even though we've got 21 spaces there, we anticipate 5 to 6 employees on the site at a time. So if a truck comes and they need to get into this bay, then you can just move the couple of employee cars that have everybody parked over here that day. You know, it's not like a bunch of storage cars that, you know, now we're gonna get 4 guys and move everything out. This is, I look at, it'll be a house rule that, you know, this loading dock gets used more than this one, so everybody park to this side or whichever, you know, they seem to think is gonna get the most use. You know, they can park around that. I really don't think, you're gonna see a whole lot of truck traffic in and out of there because it's mainly parked storage.
Correct.
And with those coming
Cars,
to,
right.
so the parts would be,
Shipped down there
okay.
from the store location, because they get dropped at the stores.
Okay,
And
so
then they
that's,
take
so-
it.
So like ICP and all those other ones would be dropping them off?
No, they actually drop them off at the store locations, and then what they do is they separate, they have batches.
Yeah.
They have two tools. They have parts that they're gonna keep at the store, which are mechanical, then a lot of body parts would end up getting shipped down there in our vans.
Okay, so follow-up, they're not gonna use the front dock then by the
No.
transformer?
No.
Okay, all right, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, just a couple of questions. My question about the makeup of the fill that you're using, various grades, turned out is more than 200%. And since you're using that as a storage area for rainwater, the smaller the gravel you use, the less storage area you're going to have. So I'd asked that you had clarified what that gravel makeup is going to be. And the answer that I got didn't clarify to 100% like what you're going to do. Are you using mostly large, mostly small?
No, I forget what sheet it's on. Okay. If you go to sheet 14, we have the sieve analysis of the material breakdown. So, you know, 85 or 50 of it is larger than 3/4. You've got 30 to 50% is number 4, 8 to 20 of the number 50, and the number 200, which is the smallest sieve, is at 0 to 5%. So it's
When
very,
you add
very
that all
little.
up, it's more than 100%.
Right, because there's some that vary. You know what I'm saying? You know, like this one here, Joe, is 70 to 100. Depending on where that is between 70 and 100, will now dictate what the percentages of these will have to be. But the actual, if they take a sample of the material that they're going to use, and they send it to PSI to have a gradation analysis done on it, okay? That will come through that, okay, 100 is past the 2-inch, 87 past the 1.5 inch, 62 past this. They will be the specific numbers within the ranges. Then those will add up to 100, and then they will say that, you know, at each one of these gradations, it either meets the specification or it doesn't meet the specification. If it meets the spec, then they can use it. If it doesn't, then they've got to get a different material before they start putting the material down.
What is the spec?
Right there.
No, you've got more than 100% there. So I'd like to know, if you've got 100% of the stone, some portion of it's got to be one size, another portion of it's got to be another,
Right.
and another's got to be another. If it's all on the small side and you still have those percentages, you're going to have less open space than if it was more on the upper side, and it still all meets the percentages. You've got to have 100% that tells us how much open space you have.
And again, if you take an actual sample, bring it to a laboratory and have them do a gradation analysis on it. they
Of
will-
what? An apple sample of what? Each size?
No, a sample of the material that's being used. A sample of the gravel. Then they will run that gravel through the sieves, and they will come up with a specific number at each sieve. Those numbers will all add up to 100, okay? But then those numbers have to fall within these ranges for that material to be acceptable.
I guess what I'm saying is that you can still have them all in that range and still not have enough storage to store the water that you expect to store there.
We're really not intending to store any water in the gravel.
Well, then it's all 100% runoff. If you're not storing it there,
It's
then
not storing, it's going through and then into the
Right.
ground. We're not storing it, we're,
Well-
in essence, slowly exfiltrating
Right.
25% or 22%.
Right, but what you can put there initially depends on the size of the fill.
So, excuse me, do you have anything else? Because I don't feel like we're gonna rehash, re-engineer the job here.
Yeah. The spec indicates that you need to replicate the area that is on site 1-to-1 if it's a redevelopment and 2-to-1 if it's not a redevelopment. What percent of the site is 1-to-1 and what percent of the site
I
is?
believe the replication areas exceed the 2-to-1 replication area. And it was explained more in LEC's review of the project.
It is in there.
It is?
It is in there, yeah.
Okay.
And he explained in detail what it is.
All right, so
It's there.
this area here that is north of the main parking lot includes the snow is all new area, not,
Correct.
okay. All right, that'll do it.
Cheryl?
If nobody has any other questions, I'd like to make a motion to accept the plans as revised as the plan of record. But because there are so many revisions to the different sheets, I would like it that Al adds it as the last page on the orders of conditions. You have to have it noted, and we don't have just one.
Right, or you could just substitute those two sheets
But
for
we
sheets 5 and 6 in this set, since nothing else is.
But we need to know,
I'm not trying to argue with them, I'm trying to
No,
find
no,
an
no.
easy way to
Okay.
accomplish what you're looking for.
no, it's an easy way to accomplish it, and it makes it correct. Mm-hmm,
Okay,
thank you.
Okay, so each sheet will have a unique number so that you can take that sheet and tie it to the orders of conditions? Or what we're
well,
sending?
I would imagine you're gonna take the entire plan set as part of the
No,
order of
because
conditions.
now I've got I've got a different number of, I don't know this plan from a previous plan. And there's no number unless we say,
The two
this
plans that.
sheet with revision of 3/18/19.
Yeah.
And it needs to be identified that way. You need to identify
Right,
each
but the
sheet.
two new sheets do have a later revision date of, I believe, Monday.
Okay, so there should be a list of
Yes.
sheets with the current revision date.
So your motion would be to make that part of that.
But at the end of the
Yeah,
orders of
okay.
condition, that the cover sheet will be like cover sheet revised, sheet 1 revised, sheet 2 revised. sheet
Revised on a certain
3
date.
Yeah, and then so on and so forth, and that way it takes care of everything.
So
Okay.
Yep.
do you want to repeat your motion? So I didn't hear a second on it.
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Okay,
All those opposed?
I'd like to make a motion then to close the hearing.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Then I need a,
I'd like to make a motion to take this under advisement while Al generates an order of conditions.
Okay.
well, wait, actually it should be, that's fine.
Are you seconding?
Yeah, I'm seconding it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I say something else
Sure.
too? Because Al's going to be leaving anything that we need to add for the orders of conditions for input. We need to get them to him right away so they can come back at our next meeting, April 3rd.
Understood.
And April 3rd, they would be on the agenda for
For us, yes,
7:45.
yeah.
I still don't understand how we can close the hearing before we finish the approval of the final. It just doesn't make sense. Wanda?
So once you close the hearing, no more testimony or evidence can be given, but you guys can deliberate and talk amongst yourselves, so no
Mhm.
comments from the public or anything like that, so you guys can discuss the orders.
Yeah, but the
conditions.
90-day review period, or the 10-day review period starts from now.
No, orders of conditions.
No, starts from
Oh,
when you close the
review,
hearing.
Yeah,
So we don't have this full order of conditions, yet we're closed the hearing, and nobody can do a review without seeing the end results. Doesn't make sense.
but we
Hold on a
can,
sec, hold on a
it's
sec.
just the public.
Hold on a sec.
Yeah, you guys can review them, we can send them out, and you guys can review them, and then give back your comments if you wanna give out comments on it.
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah, you close the hearing because the public can't have any more input, and that's the purpose of it. We've closed them and then we discuss and we do our inputs for the orders of conditions and that, and then,
Regardless, it's been voted on.
yep, so,
Mhm.
okay,
So we're all set?
Thank you very much.
So, just so we understand and be clear on the procedure, Mr. Getz will circulate a draft order of conditions. The members will submit their comments regarding that. We'll come back on April 3rd, and is the matter continued to, well...
That's it?
So
You've
it's
got to have
continued
it.
for
We close the
signature.
hearing, so
yeah,
you're going, you can expect to take it up at the meeting on April 3rd at, is it 7:45?
yeah,
7:45.
for the
Okay.
orders.
And perhaps vote on the order of conditions at that time.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a request from the members. If you have some special condition that you think should be included in the order, please let me know as soon as possible, preferably tomorrow,
Oh, you'll have mine.
but we'll see how it fits in.
Okay. So next on the agenda, notice of intent, Norwood Engineering representing Paul Lester, Vanderbilt Realty Ventures LLC, DEP file number 2510504, Norwood number 201901, project location 290 Vanderbilt Ave, Norwood. We received an email from them asking us to give them a continuance until April 3rd because of issues they're having with the snow, trying to get
At what
some of the
time will we do
engineering
that? Would that be at 7:30 or 8 o'clock?
7:30.
Okay.
Make that motion?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, next on the agenda is sign order of conditions, Peter Salona, Ridge River LTD Partnership, Town Order N
Oh,
201704, 100 River Ridge Drive.
it's just an extension.
Okay. Extension.
Extensions, both of them. Typo.
No, I have extensions, I just didn't see it.
And we also have, the next item on the agenda is an extension for order of conditions for the town of Norwood. Town order number N201703, project location, Access Road,
I
Norwood,
make-
Mass.
Make a motion to accept it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that yours?
Yes,
I like that pen.
so do I.
Okay, then, next up, treasurer's report,
I have nothing this evening.
okay? Conservation agent.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Today I met with Susan Clare and Mark Ryan. And the conversation was about planting some apple trees. The new town manager has expressed an interest in having some kind of an apple orchard here in town. And this is an outcome of that conversation.
Wow.
And the yellow and red star-shaped is proposed planting of some apple trees. I met with them and explained to them that there's different kinds of apples, not only the variety of apple, but the size of trees and things like that. So, and I gave them a couple of places that they could read up on it. And I also suggested that we have in the state here, the Worcester Horticulture Society has a historic apple orchard. And I suggested that maybe they could go look at that. And I know that in the past, at that facility, they used to sell cuttings so that you could graft your own apple varieties and make a tree of the type you wanted from historic types from around the world. The one that comes to my mind that I tried and was not successful in getting any apples off of it, but I grafted something called an orange pippin, which is historically the most tasty apple in England. So I was successful in grafting it, but the animals and squirrels caught the apples before I did, so I never got to taste one. But they're proposing that surrounding the community garden And I believe the reason that Public Works is involved is because of his association with our manager and wanting to have something, and this way there'll be somebody that will help take care of them. So since this property where the community garden is conservation land, I said that I would run it by you and see if you had any interests. And after conversations, I have learned that this is a step in the direction of a public, these are not going to be private trees. They're going to be public trees, and therefore...
The deer will love them.
Oh, yeah, the deer will love them, but...
They love the apples on my tree.
I guess they want to make an attempt and see what happens here, and that's a place where it could be tried without disrupting our mowing program of taking care of the Indian. So,
Carol, you had a question on that?
No, I want to comment on the whole thing of it, because a year and a half ago, Ramonda and I had brought it to the board that we wanted to do the apple orchard over here. And you even volunteered to help us dig. We went to Bob about how far apart we have to have the trees to mow it and everything. And we had voted, well, first of all, we haven't been quiet about saying we've wanted an orchard on the property, because we wanted an orchard in order to have something for the town to be able to take their kids apple picking and all that. And this was well over a year and a half ago on this. And it was discussed, we even discussed if we do CPC funding, but it was something that we could do out of our own pocket. I have also brought it up at the CPC meeting, so it's not like this has not been on our radar or it's new or anything. Then, with that said, we had also voted a while back when they expanded this community garden that they weren't to expand it anymore, that they were at their limit. They get money for every single plot. And ours would be free nilly over here, whoever wants to pick can pick, but they make money off of it. Well, they get money to do this. Another thing is you have the beehives at the back of this property. If you start planting apple trees around here and you have a small child that goes through there and they see those beehives, what's to stop a child from going up, banging on the box, or the beehives when they're in flight? It's a liability for us.
They can always put wire fencing around
Yeah.
the beehive.
I think, let me finish. I think if they want to do apple trees, if they want to do it with us over to this side, then that's fine, because then it's out of the way of any child getting hurt. We don't want anybody to profit off the apples. We just want it for a community thing on this section of our property, and Bob can still mow it.
We, years ago, planted a row of sugar maples parallel to Mylon Street. It would seem to me that if we wanted an apple orchard, we should plant an apple orchard parallel to the sugar maples.
That's where
Which
it be.
ones? No, parallel, straight along from, right alongside the back line of Morse Street,
Yeah.
of Mylon
Mylon,
Street.
yeah,
Yeah, so it would be perpendicular to this,
Yeah.
running all the way up the hill.
yeah.
And you could put 1 or 2 or 3 rows there. It'd be out of the way, but still part of what it is.
Well, certainly away from the beehives.
Yeah. And it'd allow anybody, because right now, if you look at it, people are gonna go, well, I can't go over there because it's a private thing. When they're over here, it's stating it's more public.
Al, can you speak to them about that thought?
well, The only thing I can say is that these people that are involved in the community gardening are willing to take care of the trees.
Well, the
And
question-
learn how to do it.
Well, yeah, but I
Okay,
have a question for you
So the
about
other
that.
question is, planting them along here, I'm not sure they get the right amount of sun because it's shaded by the tree line along here. And the idea is you're not planting the large, full-size trees that you need to have equipment to pick the apples.
Who will
We're
be-
doing
who-
dwarfs.
What?
We were gonna do dwarf apple trees.
Okay, so dwarf apple trees wouldn't be high enough to get the sun if you plant them close to
But we're
this
not
tree
putting
line.
them right up on
Well-
the tree line, we're putting them down more into
But
the field.
that's what Joe was just talking
I'm
about,
saying-
along the tree line, parallel to the street.
Parallel to Moore Street, parallel to the line of maples that we planted.
And I'm not sure those maples are still there, but,
Yeah, the maples are still there.
at any rate, if you get too close to those
Well,
maples,
So if
then
you don't
they'll
get
be
too
shaded.
close, then it
Yeah.
would be a problem?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just think if we start a project and we've discussed the project out in public and that we should be able to continue with our projects that we have instead of backdoor approaching and taking our projects.
Well, I have no problem with doing as you suggested, and if that works, fine. I would like to see, my question is, who will be purchasing these? And this is the reason why. I know I've spoken to a number of arborists because I have a couple of apple trees, and they often will suffer from rust issues,
Yeah.
and what is it, from juniper bushes or whatever it is?
Yeah, yeah.
So would we be purchasing resistant apple trees? Does such a, I'm asking from a point of ignorance, does such a thing exist?
Yeah, there are some varieties that are resistant to some of the diseases, but no matter what you plant, somebody's gonna have to maintain them and prune them, and I hate to say it, but I don't think you get too many apples if you don't spray them.
And that was my point.
But we don't want to spray them.
Well, you can spray them with things that are acceptable to organic gardening systems, you know, but you still have to do something.
Okay, I'm gonna be a devil on this big time. I already warned you guys before I even started this meeting. Jim Shane, we planted apple trees on his property because you have to have trees because planning says you have to have so many trees when you're doing all
Yeah,
this stuff.
yeah.
So we put in apple trees. They're dwarf apple trees. We don't do anything to these trees. Absolutely nothing. And those trees produce the sweetest apples. So when people are walking on Carnegie or Vanderbilt Ave, you just walk right on by and pick the apples and eat them. They're not treated with any chemicals. We don't do anything with them. And they're free for anybody who wants to just reach up and eat an apple. And I think we should be able to continue what we wanted to do over here with our project.
Okay?
Because otherwise, I'm not going to mention anything on camera anymore for us to do.
I'm just a messenger. I didn't dream up this plan. This came from Mark Ryan and Susan Clare, not me. So,
In addition, I would suspect that if the community garden is as successful as it is, at some point we'd like to expand it. There are more people, I'm sure, that would prefer a plot or would like a plot than plots that exist.
They have about
So-
50 plots. They get $25 a plot. Do the math.
and that pays for the fencing and hoses and things like that.
But that's already there and established, and this is an
You know,
established thing.
Fence needs work
Need some
every
love,
year.
definitely.
Yeah.
And would these trees be inside the fence or outside?
No, outside
Outside.
the fence, so they're open to the public.
But the whole point is that if you
Yeah.
want to expand the community garden and you have a bunch of trees, it doesn't make it easy.
Yeah, it becomes
And then it makes
problematic.
shade and does, things that gardeners don't particularly care for.
Maybe we could do something together, only over the other side.
Well, that's what I said. If they want to do it with us, that's fine.
Yeah, I think the idea of an orchard in general is a very good one. I think
Mhm.
that sounds very attractive. You know,
Yeah, it's
it
great.
sounds like a great idea. I would have a little bit of concern, maybe, and you have to claim some ignorance in regards to how the community garden is managed and maintained. But if people are like being charged for plots in the community garden and they have some feeling of right or possession of that space, and these trees are very close in proximity to that space, is the perception like going to be easy to generate that, hey, the trees are for everybody, but stay out of the garden, and vice versa? or
There'll be
whatever, you know?
issues
So-
with it. Where our trees is, we don't care who picks them. Because the idea when we brought it a year and a half ago was instead of having the families go out of town to other orchards and pick apples, allow them to come on to Concom's land and pick apples.
Mhm.
Because then it gives them a place to go, something to do. The field is big enough that if it takes off and we want to add more apples, we could add more apples. We could add pear trees or whatever trees that there are. I mean, there are so many different types of trees that we would be able to add to it, and we're able to give to the community. And I know
So maybe.
John said,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll help you and Ramon to dig.
Yeah, I don't have a problem digging holes, I'm good at that.
Same here.
If you could get some information on the trees that you have, and maybe we'll get together with Mark Ryan and kind of
That would
come
be
up
the
with a game
idea.
plan.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be
So we'll
wise to
take
just.
They're very sweet
Yeah,
apples.
we'll take that under advisement, we'll work on that.
I think we
Did
planted
you have
those
anything
trees
else,
30
Al?
feet apart.
No?
Mhm.
No?
I think we planted those trees 30 feet apart when we
Yeah.
planted them.
Well,
And they're-
these on Jim's property, they're only 10 feet apart. We got boys and girls, and they're just producing
And-
apples.
And the interesting thing is that they are over 15 feet from the property line, so
Yeah.
those should be the only shade that's generated.
So, next on the agenda is proposal for future agenda items. Anybody have anything they?
Do we
Consider?
need to take a,
What's that?
do we need to vote on this,
No.
or no, just it's a dead dog right now?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Under advisement.
an advisement, you're gonna
Okay.
come up with some information and.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get together with Mark and walk it out and see what we can do. So nothing on that? Nobody has any agenda issues? Okay, CPC report.
Okay, last week we had, it's required by law, you have to have an open meeting to the public when, all the applications got approved from the CPC. So then you have to do an open meeting, present to the open meeting before it goes to, town meeting. Ramonda did a wonderful job on ours. She's an excellent public speaker. We flew right through it. Nice big print on the
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. It wasn't tiny, so everybody was able to see everything. So it went very well. Peter's going to present at town meeting for us
Mm-hmm.
because he's our other public speaker. So we're still moving forward with that project.
Awesome.
Ours is a feel-good one.
Anything else? Or-
No, because that's the only thing that CPC is working on and getting ready to go to town meeting with all these projects.
Okay,
Anything else?
that's it?
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have-
Aye. Oh, second, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.